Welcome to another edition of Keeping It Orange and Blue. I'm Ryan Evan, joined as always by my co-host, Urbana's finest, Kevin Ducey. What's up, Kev?
What up, my man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I've kind of thawed out a little bit from Saturday's loss. It didn't ruin my Saturday. Illinois lost to Michigan State 88-80 on Saturday, as you guys know. Illinois blew an 8-point lead with just over 6 minutes left. It was like one of those things where maybe I didn't expect. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't expect to win, but when I saw it was that close, I was like, 6 minutes, 8-point lead. They can get this done. They literally have to do everything wrong to end this and lose, and they did.
They did.
The most bothersome thing to me, and we're gonna delve right into it here in a sec, but what would we see against Nebraska? You can't close it out, can't play defense, take bad shots. Same thing, same recipe for disaster, except you're not on your home floor, and there was a little bit more time left. It's a big difference between a 10-point lead with 3 minutes and an 8-point lead with 6, but still very disheartening. And it had my Saturday a little bit flustered, but I knew Michigan was coming up, Kev, so a lot of reasons to get right. Other than that, how was your weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it put a damper on it because of the way that they lost, right? You go in there, you're a 2.5-point dog. You're playing in Breslin. It's the first game since the Northwestern game where we really had a hostile crowd towards Terrence. But I think Illinois matches up really well with Michigan State in most cases. And we just blew it, like flat out. I was thinking about writing something for the 200 columns, and I know you're on me to do that. But
I'm on you, but not in a bad way. I say something.
No, I know. But if I were to write an article, the last article I wrote for 200 columns did not go well because it actually did exactly what I said wasn't going to happen. But
that should be discouraging, though, man. No one's a freaking fortune teller here. So
right. But if I were to title it, would be called In and Out. And it would just be that so much of that game and so much of the last couple of games is like we're in and then we're out. And frankly, in the Michigan State game, we had about 4 or 5 shots in the second half that just flat out went in and out. Some late. I mean, Terrence, little pull up 15-footer. The ball is halfway down, pops out. Colton with a layup that goes in and out. Ty Rogers with a dunk that goes in and out, goaltended. And I think he was fouled. Then he was fouled going for the rebound. But that's beside the point. It was just a really frustrating game, and we did some really bad things late in the game. And you know me, man. I listen to the Illinois podcast. I listen to the national guys. I listen to the Big Ten guys. I listen to sleepers. Brad Sturdy had something, and you and me, like, we got nothing but love for Brad and what those guys do. Brad said this best, we didn't have Ty Rogers in the game at the end of the game. And one of the things that Ty Rogers does for us on offense, which is, I know he's not the best offensive player, but he actually provides a relief valve because coaches do not extend defense on Ty Rogers out past the 3-point line or even out to the 3-point line. So in a situation where, we had the Harmon turnover and the DeMass turnover, which were both really bad late in the game and actually turned the game and ended up Michigan State ended up winning the game. Right there was the ultimate turning point. Ty Rogers is in the game. He can come out there and give pretty much an uncontested pass to the top of the key to get the offense moving and going. I think Brad will adjust to that. I think that Ty Rogers would have been a better matchup on Malik Hall late. Malik Hall got 2 and ones late in the game that drove them, to win the ball game as well. One on Guerriere, which was bad. One on Goody, and they were seeking out Goody. Opposing teams are seeking out Goody on the offensive end for matchups where Goody can get put on one of their players, and they're going to try and take advantage of it. And some teams, they're not going to be able to hurt us, right? Some teams that will be fine depending on where they're going with that. But other teams, it's going to cause some problems. And Malik Hall has been woefully inconsistent in his career at Michigan State. When Malik Hall and AJ Hoggard are capable players in the Big Ten, who are like both woefully inconsistent. When those two guys play well, Michigan State returns to that team that was, I don't think their preseason top 5 was way out of whack, but they're a top 25 team when those two guys play well. And they played well, and we still had a chance to win. And it was one of those things, like, I look at Illinois, and their top 3 guys had really good games. And our top 3 guys, I think Coleman played well. I think Terrence filled the stat sheet. And I think Damask had one of his not great games. And it's really hard to do that on the road. And I know this has been talked about for a while now, but, like, hey, man, Quincy Guerriere, this is your last year of college basketball. Dude, where are you, man? Like, and I don't say that out of hate or disgust. And I know he's going through some challenges. And I think the baby was born in November. I mean, you do the math, it's 3 months. 3 months is typically time for sleep regression. But you're on the road, you got a full night's sleep.
Yeah.
Maybe phantom cries woke him up. Anybody who's ever dealt with that. But he's just not himself right now. And
you can almost see him, like, overthinking things, like when he's running around. Like, he's not in the flow of the offense. He's, like, looking around, like, who am I guarding? Should I shoot this? And then I remember the last 2 or 3 games, he's been called for some weird travel where he catches it at the 3-point line. You know what I'm talking about? Against Ohio State and Michigan State, he did this. He catches it and, like, takes a couple steps and then, like, picks it up over his head. And he, like, looks around, like, who to throw it to. And then by the time he throws it, he's taking the 3rd step. And then Brad's just looking at him like, what are you doing? You know, and the sad thing was he was in foul trouble, but they had to keep Goody in there because Guerriere just wasn't doing anything. So they're like, if you're going to be in the game and you're just going to pass up shot after shot, that's not going to help us. Goody's at least going to take them.
And not cut. Like, that's where I really miss him, is like his cutting ability when our offense is still really cooking, but we're missing him a little bit.
Yeah. The offense isn't the problem. You know, I don't think
the defense is a problem. And Quincy is a big body, an athletic, strong, grown-ass man, as our guy Raphael Davis described him. We need him on the defensive end, too.
But Lee Hall was abusing everyone down there. I definitely would have loved to have seen Rogers get a shot, and we're going to devote 5 to 10 minutes on that later on at the end of this episode. So about Ty Rogers playing more. So defensively, what we've seen, I guess, you're big on this stuff. So Ken Palm, Illinois' defensive efficiencies went up into the 40s.
Yeah, we're over 100 in, like, the last month. We've given up 81. We're averaging 81 points against in the last 5 games. One of the things that we're really challenged and struggle with is we're giving up, like, straight line drives are really straight line drives don't only cause problems for you from a pure, like, if he doesn't get the bucket aspect. This is one of the things that we do really well on offense, is that we try to find a way to get to the bucket. We take shots at the rim or from 3-point range, which analytics love. But there's a point of the analytics that love that I think people miss. The easiest shot to rebound as a defender, get a defensive rebound, is the mid-range shot. The mid-range shot sets up perfectly well for defensive positioning and rebounds. If you don't get a long rebound, you normally get something pretty close. You can technically get a body on guys. The toughest balls to rebound are long rebounds off the 3 and dribble drives, which cause help defense because somebody comes over to help, and that's really like the weak side rebounder. And so we're seeing some straight line drives and guys are getting putbacks. We're still a really good team on the glass, but there's some things we really got to shore up there. And it's actually one of the things that I think a lot of Illinois fans have been really critical about Brad Underwood, is like, well, he doesn't change things. Well, actually, I think he's tinkering with the defense a little bit too much. We did that thing where Coleman's floating, and when he was completely off the Michigan State bigs, which pose no threat outside of 5 feet. And that really kind of takes away a little bit of his strengths. He's a really good trail defender. We're not sure if we're going under screens where we throw in some zone. I think Brad probably just needs to simplify it. And frankly, I think we need to get back to a little bit more ball pressure defense. I think we were a little bit worried that some guards had beat us down the lane, and then some bigs had scored against us. Well, frankly, Michigan State bigs, I'm not worried about scoring against us. So And I don't really worry that much about Michigan from a drive perspective with their guards or really their bigs abusing us. I mean, I think Reed had a pretty good game against us last time, but I mean, you give it up where you can give it up. I think that Brad really has to simplify some things. And Brad said something in the press conference post game that it will be very. I think this team is more up to the challenge to take what he said. What he said was as harsher than the fart noise last year after the Northwestern game. He called his team soft. And
he said that today, actually, too.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I didn't know if it was a post game or today. My apologies. But he called his team soft. That's something that, and frankly, like I listened to the Sleepers podcast, they talked about that Illinois has no desire. They don't give a shit on defense. I mean, it's basically what Greg Waddell and Carter Elliott said. And frankly, I can't argue with them right now. Like this
I wouldn't say everyone on the team feels like that, but there's some guys that do. You can't. I don't. You couldn't. I wouldn't believe for 1 second if they said, "Do you believe Ty Rodgers doesn't care about defense?"
No, absolutely does, but he didn't play the last.
And Coleman Hawkins. Hey, look, and Coleman Hawkins, I can tell you this: he may not always be in the right spot, but he's always out there trying to cover up other people's fuck ups a lot. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, he does. There's no doubt about it.
There's a couple guys that don't care, and I got to be honest, I don't know why they're out there at the end of the game. And so before we transition out of this, for me, Kev, the problem with the end of game execution is simple. They're not all bad shots. They're just not going in. You know what I mean? Like Shannon took a couple really good open threes that just didn't go in.
Luke Goody had one wide open in the corner. I mean, like I want him to take that 1,000 times out of 1,000. I don't care where we're at in the shot clock. I don't care what game situation. Luke Goody open from the corner, take that damn three.
Yeah, and then there was 2 layups. I think Harmon missed one that was in and out, right? And then Hawkins misses a bunch. Just come on, man. Like, and then other than that, it's the defensive execution is really where I'm kind of irritated. It's more.
We allowed Michigan State to shoot 52% from the field. They shot 5 of 8 from 3, and we were up 8 with 6 minutes to go. Like there's things that this offense they do effectively. They have to shore up the defense. It's really weird because if you'd have asked me on, December after November, I'd have been like, man, our offense isn't very good, but man, we could sure guard people. And I came into the season thinking we would be pretty elite on the defensive end, and we're just not.
An example of like they got Penn State and Maryland coming. Let me tell you what, I think Illinois
is playing a lot better right now.
Penn State's a dangerous team right now. They can hold. They're holding Northwestern under 70. Like we gave up 96. We gave up 75 to Ohio State, who struggles. And then, 84 to Nebraska, who can still stink it up on the road and barely get 60. Then you give up 88 to an kind of an anemic Michigan State offense. So it's just like there's just
88's a little mistell. There's a lot of points late in the last 2 minutes with free throws and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not.
But you know what I'm saying. The defense is it's been disappointing too because you hear Brad talk about it, and I am happy he addressed it as he did today because after Nebraska he was like not worried about it, whatever, and then against Michigan State after the game he was like, we just missed shots, really. That's all I'm worried. I'm not really worried. He didn't say that after we watched the game.
Yeah, I think there's a level of that as a coach. You saw that. We just make a couple of shots down the stretch. We still find a way to pull the game out. A big turning point in the game, and I probably got more Twitter interaction than I ever have with any post in my life, was that Harmon takes a 3, and the ball goes, and Goody is fouled like probably twice by Tyson Walker. The ball goes out off of Hogard, and they give Michigan State the ball.
Clear as day off of him.
It was just, and then the jackwagon gray-haired official has the audacity to go up and put his finger in Luke's face while he's sitting down on the side. It was just totally uncalled for. But that was a. I mean, we possibly could get a foul. Luke Goody probably missed the free throws. Jeez Louise, I don't understand why he's not a great free throw shooter.
Yeah, we can get on that. And people will say we're shit talking, but it's like I
Luke Goody will tell you right now he should be a 90% free throw shooter. Like there's nobody in the world that's harder on himself than that dude.
I know, but what I tweeted after the game, he just still doesn't make them though, Kev.
No, he does. He doesn't. I'm just when somebody's harsher on themselves than you are on them, that's not shit talking. That's just being real. And so that was a huge turning point in the game. So we've got to shore up some things on defense, simplify some things on defense. Michigan can be a get right game at home. You know,
you gotta, and as much as you hate to do it, Nebraska, embarrassed them. They were up 43-13 at one point. And then Nebraska called the dogs off, and then Michigan fought it back to 16, and then he put the starters back in. It's like this one, just bury him, just bury him. The net. It matters. If you win by 35, the net, hell, Illinois will probably jump in the top 10,
Yeah, it absolutely, you're exactly right.
You just need to bury them, let Juwan Howard know, send him out with his farewell game against Illinois at Michigan. You never beat Illinois, okay? Just remember that. You never beat Illinois, even with all your best teams that won the Big Ten with your Big Ten winning percentage. Hey, we won most of our 17 games we played that year. Yeah, it's like, Illinois played 20. Yeah, it's like, well, we won more than you, and we played 17, and we're proud of it. Even his best teams that went to the Elite Eight couldn't beat Illinois. So just bury him. All right, send him a farewell tour. I don't care. Give him, a parting gift. I don't care what you do with it. But I don't want to see – if it's a single digit, there's something wrong or something missing there if this one's like a Nebraska-type game.
Yeah, and I think there's some levels of with this team that we –
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's just some grace, I guess. I mean, they have a teammate who's facing – from what we know, a pretty weak rape charge, who was suspended for 6 games in the season. The team clearly before the suspension was Terrence Shannon's team. The team during Terrence Shannon's suspension was Marcus DeMast's team. I felt this game was the transfer of it's back to Terrence Shannon's team. And I think that could be a good thing for this team overall. That being said, late game half-court execution, Terrence is not the world's greatest half-court player, right? And Terrence is such a good downhill player in the open court, and that's where defense can help him even more. If we're getting stops and we're getting runouts, we can blow teams out, and that's why we've done it early in the season. That's why the metrics still love us. This team, I think, frankly, fell in love with their own offense and has slacked defensively. They need to fall in love with defense because they have the ultimate game changer on offense once you get a defensive stop, and that's Terrence Shannon has the ability to turn a run out of nothing. And that's where I'd like to see this team kind of get back to that focus, because you can find the offense in the half court now, and they can become a really complete team. If they can find a way to fix some of these defensive issues, this team can be really, really damn good. At one point in time, I think we were top 10 in KenPom in defense, and we were really lagging in offense. It's flipped now. We're like a top 5 offense and 40-something defensively. Like we were at one point in time, we're number 1 over a trailing month in offense from an efficiency metric standpoint. So we know we can score the ball. I'd like to address a couple questions that have popped up there, a couple statements. And Forrest Fritz said it about Underwood, that looking like Ron Zook. I'd argue with that though, because Ron Zook never ever had teams that had efficiency measures, right? And he also never had consistency in winning. Is that
Ron Zook never won the Big Ten either. I mean,
right. There's levels of this that I get what you're saying, but honestly, when Underwood came here, the question was, could he recruit? And because he was a great X's and O's coach. I think he's a phenomenal X's and O's coach in the fact that he does struggle in game adjustments and making them effectively. He does not struggle. He does make adjustments consistently, but
he does.
Adjustments
and I'm going to second the X and O's thing. I mean, there was one beautiful. What was that 3 out of the timeout from Coleman with the whip around Guerrier, who hit the 3 that he took?
Yes.
That was who you think drew that up? You think it was the guy behind the bench?
Well, also in the first half, because Coleman got in foul trouble. Yeah, foul trouble. One of those being a technical.
Hold on a second. Let me get this. Boom.
To the
What?
fans.
He said he called my mom a whore. Is that I can't boom him? Okay. No, my bad.
Yeah, and you notice that Michigan State went on the run with Coleman on the bench. But in the first half, Michigan State came out in the game and they put Akins on Coleman. And we really didn't do much with that in the first half. We abused them with that to start the second half. And then they had to put a big on Coleman. And Coleman was still working.
Coleman was still working Hall, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Coleman's game is evolving now to the point that he's really dynamic. And
he's dangerous. He's dangerous.
We got to get a little bit better performances out of and listen, this is the second game this season.
I would say this: can we just hit some open shots? I mean,
yeah, and this is the second game we've seen this season where Hoggard gives the mass problems. But we're talking here about offense. We scored 80 points.
I will tell you, that's a big thing too. Not every team has an AJ Hoggard to guard the mask.
They do not. No, AJ's a strong dude. One of my most hated players all time in history. I just can't stand his face.
Yeah, he's got a face a mother would love for sure.
Well, listen, it shouldn't be a technical to do the too small thing, but if you're going to give a guy a technical for saying boom to the foul, like, come on.
So they teed up Akins for turning around and saying something to the bench,
which was weak.
Yeah, but they didn't tee up Hoggard for doing the too small thing. I mean.
Which they shouldn't. But I'm like, how's the game? It's just the inconsistencies. Mike Cagley's been gone off on this. This is the inconsistencies of the tournament of the way that the officiating is done in the Big Ten.
And I don't like it either that if you dare challenge them. I've read the lips of some of those officials. One time, one of the players was like, "What was I doing?" He said, "I didn't even touch him." He said, "I completely whiffed him, and you called an and one." Wow. He said, "Stop right now." This is what he told him. He goes, "Stop right now. You're showing me up." He's like, "Stop. Don't say anything else."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but listen, you want to win on the road in the Big Ten. There's a book out called Beat the Refs. You got to win by 10, which ends up being a win by 5. We didn't do it because we didn't execute defensively. I think one of the areas that Brad probably failed, and it could be a player related too, is I think and this is going back to somebody said it earlier, Jay Began, our inability to stop elite point guards. Brad probably missed the opportunity to really develop DGL, and so we screwed up too by not housing teams early. Like we dicked around with Southern and Valpo and Oakland and all these other teams where we should have just blown their doors off. You blow a team's doors off, you get a chance to let a guy like DGL get some more meaningful minutes, and we just didn't get those opportunities. I do think DGL can provide a spark defensively. I think he can get out there and stop some of these quicker point guards because he has elite athleticism. Kirk Den says, "Yeah, hey, we missed the Bandit." I think there's a level that Sincere could really help this team, and maybe someday we'll figure out why he redshirted. Hopefully we'll understand when he's a fifth year and he's the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, first team All Big Ten. I mean, we all love the kid and want nothing but the best for him. I hope he sticks around.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If he decides like I'm redshirt and I'm not playing for you guys and I'm gonna leave, that's just a dick move. I'm gonna be honest. So, and it's a dick move because it's selfish, not just because you're looking out for you. That's fine, but then don't say, "Well, I'm not happy here though." After I redshirted, well, then you could have played this year. Then being unhappy, you don't need to save yourself a year. And really, the team could have used you, but then you want to leave. And I don't care. Yeah, and if a coach did that, that'd be a dick move too. You know, I'm just saying if a coach does that shit and says that's a dick move, and it is.
Yeah, everything I've read on this, it was completely his decision. So,
yeah.
Here's the thing: Michigan coming to town, they're without their best offensive player.
Yeah, there's no Dougie McDaniel because he's serving his 5th of 6 road games, Kevin. 5th of 6 road game suspension. What do you mean?
Hey, you know what? I don't know, because we don't know what it is. I've heard people say rumblings that if he was playing anywhere else, he probably wouldn't be suspended. This is a overreach of Michigan athletic departments with academics. And I've actually read up on this a little bit, is that people are thinking that if the Michigan job comes open, it's not quite the attractive job that it sounds like on the surface due to their recent success after Beeline and then transfer a little bit to Howard and a couple, 3 straight Sweet 16 runs. That's where, I think the Ohio State job is probably more attractive. And so I just don't want to throw shade at Michigan if they're suspending a guy for academics. I just don't understand why it's a travel issue, but whatever. Illinois needs to take advantage of it. We need to make them pay. We handled them in their house fairly easily, and we need to just go out and handle business in a get right game, and hopefully the team plays pissed off.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I want to see. I want to see some defensive intensity. I want to see some real defensive intensity.
I don't care if we only score 35 at half. If they have more than 20, there's going to be a problem, because this is a inept offensive team. All right.
Yeah, we let them shoot 48% from the field against us last game. Score 73 points.
Like, to me, okay, Kev, let's say we're in 90. Was it 95, 96? Right, our senior year at Urbana High. We got our guy Luda over there in the crowd. He's what's up, Luda? He's he's about to go do something big in the ATL, but he's probably writing lyrics. Who's probably rapping to the crowd. Our coach calls us soft in the pregame. How are you coming out to play Friday?
Hair on fire.
You're soft, dude. Hey, you're soft, Deucey.
Not only like, hey, listen. I mean, I think this would have affected the team last year a lot different, because they would have probably went home and pouted about it and wrote in their journal probably. Right. I think you got grown ass men here who just got called soft. Like, these dudes are 20. A lot of these dudes are 23 years old.
These are married men with children.
Right. Like, stop it. Stop it. And Brad had to, like, it wasn't post game, like you said, it was today.
It was today after he's probably
that's measured. It's hard to call a team soft with what they've gone through this year, but he's trying to fire up some guys here.
Yeah, because they need it, man. I mean, and it's his job.
It is.
I've got 4 million reasons I could tell him why he should have said it. So, there's no. First off, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm the type of guy. Your coach should be a mentor, a man you look up to, a man that will be there for you the rest of your life. But he isn't there to be your best friend.
No, absolutely.
And so if you played soft and you need to get your shit together, you're going to get told you need to get your shit together, or you won't be at the end of the game. So, and if I couldn't accept that as a grown man, and these are grown men, then you're playing the wrong sport. Listen, this is high stakes right here, man. If anybody doesn't know this anymore, NIL has taken that away. Like, this is a business, man.
It absolutely is a business. It 100% is a business. And
so some of these people are like, so I get a chuckle out of some of these tweets or people who are like, "Oh, that was mean. Don't say that." Okay, we're past that with this day and age of where we're at. Like, it's a business. It is college basketball. But not only do these coaches' livelihoods, there's millions of dollars at stake. There's, a bunch of you lose kids if you don't play them. Your negative recruiting going on. Like, everything matters. So Brad Underwood needed to let the team know it's unacceptable to play the way they have defensively. So anyway,
yeah, I want to talk about Gary Ayer. I was looking some things up here. So
okay. Yeah, and he's someone they need to get right, because when Illinois was rolling, he was getting like 15 and 12 every night.
Yeah, he went 10 of 11 games, starting with the Tennessee game, with 10 points or more, and 9 of those 11 with 14 or more. And in that stretch, he had 6 games.
No, Sean, we did not say that. Come on, man, you're supposed to be listening from the get-go.
Six
to jump in 30 minutes in.
Hey, don't. Hey, Sean's normally first guy on the board, so and 6 of those games were double doubles. Since the Northwestern overtime loss, he's had 2 5 games of 2, 5, and 3, and rebound totals of 4, 2, 7, and 5. He did have a 12-point game against Nebraska. But we need to get that guy back. I mean, that guy, not only because I think when he's a little bit I talked to ad nauseum about Roger Powell. When he was a sophomore, when he got a bucket, he seemed to play better defense. I think Quincy's offense can lead to some of his defense too. So, and we need him. And I know Quincy knows it. And it'd be really nice to have him bounce back. No, Sean, nobody's unhappy at Illinois. We're just talking about why Sincere Harris is redshirt and long term, what that means. So,
and for any of you on here watching, you guys are ever bored or you just can't get enough of something, like because a lot of these games I only watch one time. I used to tape a lot of games.
Yeah.
But I've lost those VHS tapes since then. But luckily on YouTube has a plethora of some fun ones. You know what game I was watching last night? I was watching Western Kentucky, Illinois, D. Brown freshman year, first round of the tournament.
Yeah.
In the RCA Dome, where he was the man, dude. He's 16-8. He was the player of the game. That's the only reason they beat Western Kentucky.
Yeah, we struggle with him a little bit.
Yeah, and I was like, it was fun to go back there and you can watch. I was watching. Hey, here's a fun one. Even though they lost, I got to see Matt Heldman again.
Yeah.
1998, Maryland, Illinois, second round in Sacramento. Yeah. I was watching him lose his mind at a shitty call, and he was right. At the end of the game, it was tied 61-61. And Maryland's big man was trying to do a move, and he lost the ball. And it looked like Heldman slapped down at it, but he lost it. And Heldman was like, "Are you crazy, dude?" He's like, "I didn't even touch it." And I was like, dude, Maddo was correct. I was like, the refs have been blowing calls for 25 years. So I was just enjoying that. So get on the YouTubes, type in a game. I guarantee you might not get it, but sometimes – surprises come up like that. So I was just going back to the archives, watching old Bill Self with his real hair walking the sideline. Was nice. Anyway, Forrest Fritz, the old Flying Illini games are awesome. I've checked out the Syracuse Elite Eight game.
I was there.
Yeah. Oh, you were there?
Mm-hmm. The Minneapolis.
That game seemed intense as hell, dude.
Oh, dude, it was like – I was 10 years old, man, and it felt like it took years off my life.
Yeah, it was like an Uber athletes all over.
Dude, our guys were not right. I talked to Larry Smith, Kenny Battle, Nick Anderson, and Kendall Gill after the Louisville game, and I think it was Kenny Battle and Nick. I think both Kenny Battle and Nick Anderson were banged up, and then Lowell Hamilton, I think, got banged up in the Syracuse game. I think he sprained his ankle or something. Yeah. So, but hey, those are bygones be bygones. Tomorrow night, just heads up, everybody's the game's on everybody's favorite network, Peacock. Gosh, I hope we don't have Collinsworth calling the game.
Yeah, he probably who doesn't even watch the game he's calling. He's like talking about something.
It's just his lack of intensity in the game, and it was also Ohio State's crowd also contributed to why I was so pissed at the game. Game was
I will tell you though, the Crush and everybody you've been doing a really good job of late. They've been a lot better. I'm going to say our call out on the show was really helpful. I'm glad you guys have listened, so that's amazing. Crush, keep it up. Now, with that said, though, Kevin, so we're going to get to Ty Rogers towards the end. We got to get to – so Illinois has been going 10-14, 10-14, 10-14 in the AP poll, okay? You got to get right at some point. You can't keep win a couple, lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. This is big this week because not only after Michigan, which we should win, we're a 15-point favorite at home. You got to win the game. So to me, it's like don't look past Michigan, but also keep it real as the show is. You got Maryland Saturday, a chance for revenge, Kev. Also, Shannon did not play in the first game. We've already went over this. We think that would have made a big difference, him physicality-wise, length-wise, and them having to cover somebody out there who's actually shooting three pretty well right now. He's a guy you can put on Dante Scott and feel pretty good about.
Yeah.
And then or put him on Young. You know, put him on
Yes.
Jameer Young because we had
Yes.
nobody. We had nobody could do anything with Jameer Young.
Nope.
I also think that Illinois is going to play Reese a lot differently than they did in the first game.
Yeah, I think we throw we like they. I don't. Maryland has really lacking 3-point shooters, and the fact that we didn't collapse on him more and force some kickouts for three was beyond me. So yeah, I think Damask ate their lunch last time we played them, but once again it was a defensive problem. We gave up too many points. So
yep, they've got to get that game back.
That was the one game in that stretch of 10 out of 11 double-figure games. Quincy Guerriere did not score double figures.
Yep, it's a big one too because in Sean Harrington's plus-minus thing, that puts Illinois +3.
You got to get one back.
Yep, we got to get it back. So that's a big one Saturday. So this week,
it's just ridiculous to me that team is fairly talented. That loss at home is a quad 3 loss. It just trips my ass that Maryland hasn't been a better team. So we kind of owe them an ass whooping.
Yeah, for sure. And Kevin Willard, I gotta be honest, he should face a lot of grief for that because could you imagine if that was Illinois?
I mean, you got Julian Reese, Jameer Young, and Dante Scott. You can't build around it. Like, man, come on. One thing.
Yeah, but Kev, think about that though. Where'd they finish last year?
Fourth.
Okay. Illinois. Okay. Illinois finished 6th or something. 8th, but tied.
It was like a half game out. Like, dude, you go back look at the preseason predictions. It was Purdue 1. And then most everybody had Michigan State 2. And then it was amalgamation between Illinois and Maryland is 3-4 in this conference. And like, this is –
But like all these years, Illinois had expectation, right? Well, Maryland had expectation this year. Yep. Could you imagine where the fan base would be up Brad's ass if we were 13-11 or something and like 5-8 in the Big Ten? Dude, people would be wanting him gone yesterday. So like Kevin Willard, no excuse to have this team this bad this year. Yeah. So I'm shocked that the fan base is like not, even though they only have about 800 people that show up to their home games. I'm shocked that the fan base.
I hope it's like that on Saturday. I certainly do. So that would be beneficial because that crowd is mean and nasty when they're into it. So
it looks like we get Bardo. He's one of the Peacock specials. I haven't really minded Bardo as much lately.
No, I think Bardo does a fine job on the call. This is Collinsworth. Hey, Mark McCoy, quick one here. Illinois lost that year to Florida in the round of 32. Florida almost lost to Butler in the round of 64. Before. Miller hit a floater with like 1 second left. Had Illinois made the Sweet 16 that year, I went to the Sweet 16 in Elite 8 in Syracuse that year, and it was Florida, Seton Hall, Duke, and somebody else. I was going to be there, so. Jay Bacon saying some people are calling for Underwood's head now. I mean, like,
well, okay. I'm sorry, and if someone's watching this, you're delusional as hell. If you're one of those people, so and that's okay. You know, we all got problems with something in this world, and if you think Underwood should be gone, well, I guess we could get Gross back in here for you.
Yeah, here's the thing in college basketball that's really weird right now is. I was listening to the Eye on College Basketball podcast, and everybody's saying there's really like 2 elite teams in college basketball, and I agree with the fact that there's 2 elite teams in college basketball. And then maybe Houston's in there. So, like, let's take those 3, and then you go from 4 to whatever, 4 to every single ranked team to the first 10 teams or first 15. So you go 4 to 40. Like, the gap is that big. I mean, Wake Forest gave Duke all they wanted tonight. Like the gaps between a top 10 team and a team, and Michigan State is small. It's really small. It's smaller than it's ever been in college basketball. But there's like one intriguing factor. Isaac Trotter posted this today. I actually brought up the stats yesterday. I was wrong because I forgot that Tennessee lost by 10 on Saturday, but as of Sunday, there were only 2 teams in the top 10 that hadn't had a 10-point loss all season: Duke and Illinois, and that includes UConn and Purdue. There's only 3 teams that have in the top 50 KenPom that don't have a 10-point loss, and I think it's like St. Mary's, Illinois, and Duke. So like we are staying with teams. Like we are right there in the battle in the thick of things with everybody that we play with. So And then
Really?
why do we struggle so much against
Let me,
Maryland?
Kev, let me take this one, then you can jump in.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so I got to tell you too, and Kev, you can agree, disagree, go for it. Half of it's been so bad luck too, like just shitty luck.
Who was the guy that banked in the three?
Yeah, Anthony Cowan.
Cowan, yeah.
Here, I'll name 4 games right here for you. I'll give you 4, and just listen to this. Okay, we'll start off with the one in DeMonte and them's freshman or sophomore year, where he
couldn't inbound the ball.
Couldn't inbound the ball. Just couldn't hand it into one of his guys to get fouled and go shoot free throws. So he just, for some reason, just throws it just wherever.
It was such a young team, like it was.
Yeah, and then guess what? Maryland comes up with it, and then they hit Kevin Huerter, who's an NBA, a pretty good NBA player, and he hits a 3 in the corner, which puts us down 1, and then we go down. We can't get a shot off, and we lose. All we have to do is inbound the ball, and it's over. Okay, there's 1 game. 2, Trent Frazier and Kofi and them. It was Kofi's freshman year. They were eating their lunch, man. They were dominating. They were winning by like 12 the whole second half. Then they get the spurt going. Anthony Cowan's, playing well, but it's fine. Whatever. We're still up by like 4 with like 40 seconds. We're going to win. They get some weird little non-call where they're hacking Frazier. They take it from him. And then, Frazier gets back in his grill, right? Cowan pulls up from about 35 feet and hits a 3. And from 35 feet, Cowan hit a 3. And then, okay, I think we were up 1 at that point. And then they steal the ball from us when it should have been a foul, like a hack. Then they put up and get a layup with 5 seconds left. They stole that. I mean, but how often does that happen? And then at home, when we had Io DeSumo, that was the game where Morcell just played the game of his life. Like, we were winning.
Yep.
We were winning by 10 like the whole second half. And Morcell had a really good game. And then Hakeem Hart, who was 1 for 20 from deep all year, hits a shot clock buzzer-beating 3. Again, he was shooting like 5% that year. He hits a 3. I mean, come on, that's 3 of them right there. And the other, by the way, was when Kofi Coburn was out, suspended.
Oh, that's right, at Maryland.
Maryland, and he had 24 and 12 in the first matchup,
right?
And they won that game by like 14, and then he sat out. So think about that. That's 4 games right there. And then instead of him being 3-7 against Maryland, what is he, 7-3?
Right, something.
So I'm just saying that's just an odd way to go about it. They also have a lot of length and physical dudes that I don't think our players enjoyed. I don't think it was big guards, super physical, really good rebounders. I think they don't really have a bunch of shooters, but that's really why our teams have kind of struggled. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit of a headspace game here. Like I hate the association of don't draft a Penn State running back because Curtis Enos and who was it? Kajana Carter weren't good. I think that I don't think that there's any correlation to those things, but I do think there's a little bit of locker room carryover. Like, we can't beat these guys. So, and then Jim White Sox, yeah, we seem to bring out career highs in everybody. We absolutely, it seems to be a little bit of a plague here. So
Will Cheddar's going to go for about 35 tomorrow in a losing effort, but that's
I
all right.
I will throw this glass through the screen.
Was it Nebraska fans were cheering him on because he was scoring? Man. Yeah.
Let's talk tying and let's put a bow on this thing, man.
Yeah, that's correct. And yes, Io DeSumo deserves.
Well, why are we shitting on my final thoughts?
Who's shitting on your final thoughts?
Sean Garner talking about Io.
Oh man, yeah, dude, stop it! Don't get on it. All right, Kev, should Ty Rodgers be playing more at the end of the game?
I think so. I really do. I don't. I sent a tweet to LaTulip, and I was like, hey man, I need a breakdown because Mike sees things that we don't see, having played the game, and I don't mind his breakdown that he does with Warner is really good. I'll call it what it is. His podcast with Warner is really good. I like listening to LaTulip. LaTulip's an Illini guy. I'll always support him. I love listening to Sean Harrington. Pretty cool. I got to listen to Sean Harrington on the Liberty call the other night in a really fun game. And man, Sean breaks down the game really well. But I don't know.
Why should he be playing more, Kev?
Why should he be playing more? Because he first of all is going to give the 100% of 100% defensive intensity every time down the floor. And number two, he is the best cutter that we have right now. That Quincy is not being that cutter that we saw. I mean, those two guys, like that's the way he found that open spot for a dunk. He did, and then and Coleman did it too, and then whipped the ball out of bounds. Like, oh man, just threw it right in between two guys. Unfortunate. I think that, and then Rodgers has so much defensive versatility. And here's the thing: we were up 8. Like if you're down 8, I get not playing Ty Rodgers. Like he doesn't spread the floor as well as Harmon or Goody, which is really the guys we're talking about and playing for. And we might not be as effective offensively, but like the dude's defensive rebounding, offensive rebounding, defensive intensity, and cutter fun, and then he's a pressure release valve for the offense. Furthermore, if we have a guard who's going to jump up and give us pressure at half court, what guy on this team do you want handling the ball there? Like, I love the mask, but he has been taken advantage of. It seems like it happens about once a game. Like I think I'd want Ty Rodgers, frankly. I really do. And I think that Ty could provide some outlets. One thing I think I would like to see this from Underwood. If teams are going to start pressuring us, and we do not have we do lack a point guard playing measurement, a true point guard, a traditional point guard. If teams are going to play a big on Coleman, like in late game situations, if they're going to start pressuring our guards, let Coleman bring the ball. Like let Coleman run point center. Like I am perfectly okay with that. Perfectly. Like people want to bag on Coleman, like, oh, he doesn't dribble well. It's just because he looks a little awkward. The dude hasn't had a game with more than 2 turnovers, not more than 2 since Colgate on December 17th. So I would expect Brad to adjust. I think he made a mistake. I think Brad realizes it. I would expect to see Ty in some games, especially when we got to leave late.
Harmon's had a couple moments, like he had a big shot against Northwestern, but then in overtime, he erased it with a forced shot against 3 people, and then going under screens, and it's just.
I think Harmon's that same guy. I think he's a rhythm player. He's got to get 1 or 2 to go, and if he gets 1 or 2 to go, watch out. But if he doesn't, dude, he can be overly aggressive on defense and put himself in bad positions. I don't know.
Yeah, and then Goody though is just not the guy to have in there trying to battle in the post. It's just not.
I love his effort. Goody leaves it out there every game. Like let's not.
Yeah.
And he can be so hyper effective on offense, but you need Luke Goody to play those minutes when you're chasing Purdue, when you're down 15 late, to hit big shots.
Yeah.
You need Ty Rodgers to help you close out the game. And frankly, I got a little bit more faith in Ty at the free throw line right now than I do Luke.
And let me just tell you something. How about that putback jam from Ty Saturday? Like, dude, come on, man. Like, and it was a goaltend. For goodness sake, Carr put his hand not just through the freaking net, but he hit the rim too, and he yanked it when he yanked down on it. It's like, how do you miss that?
I missed the goaltending on Dane's, but Dane ended up making both free throws.
Dane made both of them. I loved watching Tom Izzo's face after he made both. He was like, he knows the dude shoots like 18%. He was over there already stewing about like all the foul called. He was just like throwing his hands up. But anyway, Ty Rodgers, to me, it's not like when you're up 8 though with 5.5 minutes left. It's like he's not a shooter.
Get stops, get rebounds. Get stops, get rebounds. Get stops, get rebounds. What does he do better than almost anybody on the team? Get stops and gets rebounds. Like Brad choked on that one. He choked.
Yeah, and he did that against Nebraska too.
Yeah,
he's done it 2 games in a row, and so I think he didn't play that much.
No, Ty had 8 and 14 against Nebraska. He had to be in there. So
I don't know. I'm going to rewatch it. But anyway, so we agree.
I know the 2 games prior to that he didn't. He didn't play much late in the game. He didn't have many.
Against Nebraska too. Everybody asked him. Northwestern. He said, "Why was Ty not at the end of the game?" Oh, it's just our defensive. We got some, And then everybody was like, "Oh, Harmon was plus 24. That's why." Harmon's in there when there's big runs. It doesn't mean that that's because of Harmon.
Yeah, against Indiana, he only played 16. Against Northwestern and OT, he only played 16. Against Rutgers, he only played 14 minutes. So, I mean, he still played 21 against Michigan State. He was 4 of 6 from the field. I mean, he didn't rebound especially well. And, I mean, he had a couple turnovers. But, I mean, like, that's fine. Like, it's –
and by the way, real quick, we'll get to final thoughts now. Kansas lost by 29 because they had 2 of their best players out, by the way.
Who's out tonight?
McCullough did not play tonight.
Oh, I heard he was banged up, yeah.
Yeah, McCullough was out, and then they had another – I think their first guy off the bench was off. So they were playing their 7th and 8th guy that they don't ever play. So – and this was at Texas Tech, who needed a big win. Now, I will say this, and this is an interesting thing too, Kev, because the committee probably won't factor this game into their seeding. I don't think they should factor Illinois' loss at Purdue or to Maryland into their seeding.
That might come into play.
Because and I think that if Illinois gets a 3 seed, people will be like, well, we don't understand how. Well, you didn't have Terrence Shannon for those games. Like, do you guys think that's going to matter at all? Like, I would love to see Purdue without Zach Edey a couple games. We'll see how that goes.
Right. Jim Whiteside said Harmon frustrates me a little bit lately. Frustrates me a lot lately, especially when you see what Jeremiah Williams is doing for Rutgers. And I'm not saying this. All I'm saying is the staff did the right thing. They couldn't afford to not have a guy for a half a year because this team would be a lot different situation.
And you know what? If that gambling thing that had not been passed yet, by the way.
Right. And so, man, but here's my credit. The staff made a really good evaluation. That guy is obviously a Big Ten player of the week this week, and that's a key component. Is if Rutgers can keep winning,
that helps our net. Yeah,
we can get the win at Rutgers into the quad 1. So that'd be nice. By the way, Texas Tech had a guy, Darian Williams. He averages 9 points a game. He had 30 tonight. He was 12 of 12 from the field, 4 of 4 from 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Didn't miss a shot. 30 points, 11 rebounds. Good on you, Darian Williams. Shout out to you.
So I will, since I think I know what your final thought is. Was it mentioned by Garner earlier?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I'll start off then. Basically with I think the line came out Illinois 5.5 total wins for football next year. I'm liking these new staff hires. I'm loving Justin Stepp from South Carolina, the wide receiver coach, who I guess has these huge ties to Texas. He's super well loved. I'm loving David Gibbs is like this hard ass, yes. I'm gonna get this shit together defensively, and he's gonna be watching over Aaron Henry to help make sure they get it. I just love the additions. And I know they added a linebacker coach who played at Texas A&M, who just came from Houston. I've heard nothing but good things about him in the Houston scene recruiting-wise. But to lose guys like George McDonald and, Andy Boo getting sent packing, and then having Charlie Bullen just leave, to go back to the NFL, which that's kind of an odd one to me,
Do you read that Jeff Johnson Substack on that one?
Go ahead. Fill me in briefly for about 20 seconds.
According to Jeff Johnson, we had Charlie Bullen was begging to get in the college game, and Brett gave him a chance, and then the guys here a year in bolts. It just kind of, and frankly, our pass rush, our outside linebackers and DNs this year didn't do much. So
nope. I gotta be honest, exactly. All this big talk about what Bullen's doing, and I was underwhelmed for sure. But anyway, love the new additions to the coaching staff. We have months to get to it, but I think Illinois is going to surprise some people. I'm going to pick Illinois over 5.5 next year. So that's fine. Disagree. It's all right. But anyway, love the coaching additions to the staff. I think Bielema was getting it right, and he knows the areas that need to be fixed and how to fix them. Okay.
I think Illinois will be much better offensively next year. I think Lundy's third year will be I think they'll be something to reckon with offensively.
All right, Kev.
Hey, the guy deserves a shout out, man. And we prefaced it a little bit, but Ayo, career high tonight, 29 points, 7 assists. He was 12 of 18 from the floor, 5 of 7 from 3. He did miss a free throw, which is weird. He finished January as the only Bull in team history to go 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line. If you go pull up his stats and his game log, like he's playing really well.
What interesting to me about that though, Kev, have they had very many good players in the history of their franchise though? Huh?
Who, the Bulls?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you talk about the guys they've had there that have never done it.
That's it. He's the only Bull to ever do that, huh?
Yeah, and talk about like in double digits. He finished January 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 consecutive games in double digits. He's now scored in 13 of the last 14 games in double digits. He's just playing really, really well.
He's making it really hard for them to just be, unless they put him in a trade package. He is becoming an asset no matter what.
Yeah, he's shooting 54% from the field in February and 50% from three. Surprisingly enough, he's 33% from the free throw line.
What? 33%?
That's not counting tonight. He's lower than that now. He's 25% from the free throw line this month.
Oh
He's only taken 4 shots.
Yeah.
But if you factor into tonight's numbers, aren't included in the numbers here. I mean, he was 5 of 7 from 3 and 12 of 18 from the field. He's playing really well. And now that he's getting minutes, and that's really critical. And you know what? The Bulls are playing fairly well in these games. They're about a 500 team. That's about a little bit better than who they've been this season. It's just really cool to see Io perform now that he's getting some time, and he looks like that assertive guy that we saw the second half of his sophomore year and his junior year, where he really knew he was pretty damn good. So pretty cool.
Yep. So with that said, 6 p.m. Peacock. We're going to be putting another teaser. We're going to be posting another teaser on our X social medias tomorrow about what's coming with this podcast. Big things are coming. We got
a Illini Legends going to be jumping on here before too long.
Shit. We can't tell you who. He may or may not have been a big part of a comeback to beat a number 1 team. He may hit a tie. He may even hit a shot to tie the game. You never know. All right. So with that said, Swami out.
ILL.
I and I.